What's going on, guys? I got a problem with my Metabo. Looked on the internet, well, YouTube. First, some breakdown videos of it. Didn't really see a whole lot. I've dug into it already, so I kind of know what's going on. I'm gonna bring you guys along, show you basically how to tear it apart, kind of what to look for. I'm like literally no expert on these things. I just had to tear it apart, figure out what it was, so I can try and get it back up and running. So hopefully this will help you out. You can hit the like button. Obviously, if you're rebuilding Metabos, I don't really think you need to subscribe or anything. But if you're building lowriders, hey, hit the subscription button. Do a bunch of that too. But I gotta get this thing going because it's kind of dead in the water right now. So I'm gonna start taking it apart, kind of show you guys what to look for, best of my knowledge. This thing actually has been modified from stock. They normally have like a little thermal protector in it. Don't know what to do with that. I pulled it out somewhere around here. I'll show you if I find it. But I bypassed that. When I got this grinder, that was the problem. That's why it wouldn't work. It burned up. I bypassed the little thermal protector. It's been running strong for like 3 years after that. I use the hell out of it. I mean, you can see, it's not new by any means, but it's worked great after removing that. So, I rolled with it. Didn't have any problems. When I did start having a problem with it, it just all of a sudden quit. I was going to cut, hit the button, it said pop. Spun a little bit, popped, and that was it. So I tore it apart. I thought I found the problem that was in it. Replaced it. I'll show you what it is when I tear into it. Still wasn't it, so I dug further down into it. Completely ripped it apart. Found the problem. Found the part. I actually ordered the part, and it was coming from Germany, so I figured it'd take forever to get here. That's where these are made, if you didn't know. So thought about it for a little while. Decided to buy another Metabo because I figured it'd get here faster through Amazon. Surprise, surprise, it didn't. So now I've got 2 Metabos, it's good. I got one for a backup. The part actually showed up faster. I still haven't received my new one yet. It's still in the mail. But since we got the part, we're gonna throw it in here, see if we can get it working, and bring you along for the journey. All right, first and foremost, common sense should tell you to unplug it, but I guess common sense isn't a standard option anymore. It's a dealer add-on package. So we got some torque tips in here. I'm gonna try and keep you guys in the light the best that you can see it, but I can't guarantee that. Got some good old Harbor Freight torque tips. I'll try and tell you which ones they are. I don't know. I just put them in there until they fit. That one looks like it. So it looks like a T20. There's 3 screws here. That will allow this to come apart, and we'll be able to see the innards in it. All right, we got our screws loose. This thing comes apart. Just this little black plastic piece is what comes off. And sometimes it's a bit of a pain. Sometimes the screws stay in there, sometimes they don't. One side comes off easy, the other side does not. I don't remember which side is which. This is the easy side, looks like. Yes. The cord will stay attached to one of the sides, so that's going to be the harder side to take apart. Alright, here's our innards of what we're working with. Basically, this is your power cord coming in. It goes into your switch. Basically, how I've learned this, I just use a voltmeter and kind of trace down the path of where I was going. So it basically goes in your switch, comes out of your switch here. These go to your stator, your coil field, which is in here. Comes out of your coil field and then goes to your brushes. But this is after I modified it. Beforehand, I don't remember exactly how everything went. But this is that overheating little thermal protector I told you about. I basically bypassed it. It used to go in from the other side. Actually, it was in here the entire time that I used it. I just unwired it. But I just recently took it out just because I took everything apart. It doesn't really need it anymore. Safety precautions, yeah, probably would be a great idea to have it in there, but it's been just fine without it. So you will have to kind of look at that and use your judgment on how it's wired up. I don't remember exactly. I know there's wires that come out of here, and they bolted up. Honestly, can't really tell you where it went. Looking at it, I want to say the wires come out of here, went to the thermal protector, and then this, seeing as there's so much wire there, came up to the thermal protector. That'd be my best guess. Like I said, it's been a few years since I did this modification on it, so I don't really remember. But we'll keep moving forward, and we'll get past that. Our main problems are kind of up in here. I'm going to take that little screw out there. That's going to release the pigtail for the cord, and I can take my other side of my handle off. Little piece there pops out. You can put that back in, not put it back in. It doesn't really matter. It's just a hang it, I guess. So I'm going to pull that out, get my cord a little bit freed up so I can take apart the other side. And that's pretty much how your Metabo would look from factory with that little thermal protector in there. Like I said, I believe these went down in there and these come up to the other side and thread it in right there. I'm not 100% sure. You just have to look at yours and, like I say, kind of use your best judgment. But I did away with that on mine. So the first problem I had when I opened up the casing, I seen this connector here had burned in two. And I was like, sweet, easy problem or easy solution. You know, popped a new connector on there, went to hit it, you know, put it all back together, plugged it up, went to hit it, still didn't work. So I was like, well, I got to dig further. So after I'd fixed that, I was like, well, maybe I got a bad switch. That'd be, you know, my next logical thing. I did test for continuity on my cord just to make sure nothing was burned up in my cord. Took a voltmeter, I ohmed it from, you know, one side of the plug to one side of the switch, figured out which is which. I had continuity on both sides, so I was like, we're good there. Did the same thing on my switch. It does just go straight through when it makes a connection. But voltmeter lead on each side, clicked it, I had continuity, so I knew that was good, you know, up to here. So I started working my way down, and that's where I found I had continuity coming from one of these to the brush. I don't remember exactly which one it is. I do believe it is this side to this side, this side to this side. Not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, you do need continuity, you know, going from there to there, and I did not have that. So we'll tear it apart a little bit further, and I'll show you what the problem is that I run into. All right, so we'll start taking this apart. I don't remember how much I had it put on. You just have to line up those little grooves on there. Pull your little retainer, it'll pop off. We need to pull these screws out here, but there's a few different ways you can do it. I just took the screws out of this, pulled this whole chunk out. That made me access those a little bit easier. You could pull the C-clip on here and pull that off. I don't know which would be easier, honestly, but I'm just going to pull this off because that's how I did it last time. It worked out good. It is a little bit different size. I want to say is a T25. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the screws out of this, pop it up. For this one here, I just held it down, pulled my screw out, and just pull the whole assembly out. I'm gonna pull the screws out and I'll bring it back when I pull the assembly out. That way you kind of see nothing really difficult. It does have a gasket in there, like a little plastic gasket. Don't really know how critical that is. I did put it back in there just to be sure, but yeah, we'll get this out and then I'll move on to that part there. All right, we got all of our screws out. You can just take this one out and it'll remove that whole bracket, but then you got to fight that little spring there. Not a huge deal, but you know, if you want to do that, you can. I just held it back, used my Allen wrench, pulled it out, or my torque tip wrench, pulled it all out. So before, well, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out, but before I go any further, I'm gonna come back, start undoing all my wires. That way, once I go to pull this stator field out, nothing will be hooked up. And this does just pull up. Sometimes you gotta kind of mess with it a little bit. You know, you can do that and everything will fly apart. The little gasket I was talking about flew over here. Not exactly sure why that's there. I'm assuming they put it there for a reason, so I'm gonna keep track of it and put it back in there when we're done. So we got our gasket back on there. I'm gonna just set that aside. Don't really need to do anything else to it. As I said, we're gonna undo our wiring there. I just got a pair of needle nose, pulled them off. They come off fairly well. These pull out. Probably gonna pull them out first and then pull my wire off. That way I can kind of get a little bit more of a hand on it. Don't want to break that, obviously, and I have to order more parts. So I'm kind of bring you along with that, I suppose. So I more or less took a picture the first time I did this, but I'm gonna kind of just wing it this time. Because really, in all honesty, there's gonna be new wires going in here. But I'm pretty sure this wire goes to there, if I remember correctly. And this wire comes over to this brush. So we'll kind of play it by ear. Luckily, I'm making a YouTube video, so I can just go right back to it and see where I messed up. So I'm gonna grab this, kind of pull it out. Being careful with it. It's best just to pull this out anyways, because you're gonna have to reseat it. Once you put the new stator in there, actually, maybe I will pull that off first, because if not, I'm probably gonna end up yanking the thing and breaking it off anyways. These will either come out really easy or not. I don't know what determines it to go in easy. I pulled this out a few times actually. Sometimes it goes easy, sometimes it doesn't. But that's your brush. A lot of times those wear out. These are easy, consumable, replaceable part. So if you need to know how to replace a brush, that is how you do it. We'll flip it over to the other side. Do the same thing on this side. See if we can not break it. just like that. Alright, we'll straighten up our wires, that way when we go to pull it through, we're not snagging on nothing. Also, let's see where you guys can see it. Also, the wires clip in right there, so you want to definitely undo that first. Those are already undone. Those are good. So now I'm going to take these 4 bolts out. Those ones there too. They jump back down to the T20 size, so I'll bring it back when I get those out. And we got our screws out. I'm going to try and take this apart with you guys watching. See how it goes. Last time it came apart fairly easy. I'm sure it'll be all or nothing. I'll knock the camera over and all that. Just kind of wiggle it back and forth. And eventually it'll come out. There we go. And it'll bring the whole stator and everything out. Yeah, I guess it did bring that out last time. I'm going to leave all this intact. When I did take it apart the first time, I guess this is a bushing, but it's a magnet also. It had broken half. I super glued it back together. Maybe a critical factor, may not, but we're going to keep on going. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, I guess. This is looking down in the base of the body. All them windings there, that's the stator or field stator. Heard it called a few different things. Not really sure what the actual term is, but we're going to remove those 2 screws right there and then slide this whole thing out. This is what those wires are connected to. So if it's not bad, you know, you want to be careful pulling that out. Don't really see a reason why you would be pulling it out if it wasn't bad. But I kind of did exploratory research to kind of figure out where those wires went. I wasn't exactly sure. I had an idea that they went into those fields, but I wanted to be sure because when they go in there, it kind of looks like they just wind around and you can't really tell. I just want to be positive, so I took it apart previously, but now I'm replacing it, so I'll kind of bring you along with it. And those screws there jump down to a T15. Now comes kind of the pain part, getting that out. Last time, I just bumped it on my table like that, and it got to the edge where I can actually grab it. Correction, I did bump it on the table to come flush with that, and then I opened up my vise, so it'd stay on the outside of those, and I just did the same thing. That way it got to where I could get to it and pull it all the way out. Just like that. Now we got it pulled out. Made sure to get all of our wires all clear, and then just slide the whole thing out. So this is what I was looking at. As I said earlier, I didn't really know how it all worked in here, so I took it apart, figured it out. But yeah, we're losing continuity. I don't remember which one, but between one of these, basically all this does is you got a wire that comes from your plug, well, from your switch, comes through there, wraps all around that, comes back out, and that's what makes your magnetic field. So yeah, I owned these out. One of them did not have continuity. I was pretty sure it was supposed to have continuity. I talked to a few friends of mine. They said yes, it should have continuity. So I figured that was the part number there. It's not. I'll show you how I figured out how to get this. Could be a little bit more simpler, but you know, I'm pretty happy that the tools were there to be able to actually track everything down and get it. So here's our new part. It has the same number, but you would figure that would be a part number. I mean, obviously it is to some extent, but then it also has the date that's made on it, which is pretty cool. But I'm going to show you how to find the actual number to order this thing. Try and do this going through a phone, looking at a phone. I went to Metabo's site themselves, figuring maybe I'd be able to buy it directly from them. That's not quite the case. But if you go down to service, you can go to spare parts. And I typed in the part number here, which I thought was 1201. That wasn't the case. So what I did, I typed in the model number, which was WEP 17150. And I'll show you where to find that on there, because that was kind of a learning curve for me as well. It popped up this here, which I was like, all right, cool. Clicked on the first one, looked at everything. I was like, that doesn't look right. But then I realized you can come over here. You know, these things are sold worldwide, so they have different voltages. And right there, you can see that's US 120, and there's European 230. And they got another US 120 there. Wasn't quite sure, but then I found out the type number and found this one to match mine. I'll show you again where to find that. Clicked on it, and it pulled up a sweet exploded diagram. Really can't get much better than that, you know, trying to take stuff apart. Lets you know the way everything goes together, except the wiring. That's the kind of sucky part. But definitely a huge, huge help, you know, if you're kind of not really sure on how this thing comes together. But we figured out our part number right there, number 2. Come on down. You got position number 2, field coil wire, or field coil with field coil, 120 volts. And there is our part number. So I backed out of this. I'll bring it back when I get to it. And then I was able to search for that number right there. That was the number that Metabo's site popped up. And I don't remember exactly if I bought it from this page. I want to say I didn't, because I thought I seen a picture of it. Actually, I'm almost positive I seen a picture of it. So I just looked for a few pages until I found one that actually had a picture. The main difference I had seen in between them was the wiring itself. And I wanted to find the same thing that had the correct wiring. So now you have that information, you can at least look through the internet and find the right one that you need. Like I said, I was kind of leery on the shipping of this. It did come in sooner than on my new Metabo, so you know, we'll roll with this, I guess. But now you have some idea where to get the parts. I wish Metabo themselves sold the part on their website. That'd be super, super convenient, but for some reason it didn't. But it was nice getting the actual, you know, item number to be able to look it up. On the bottom side of your grinder, that's actually the model number, I guess. This is the type up here. And before I took this apart, I wasn't quite sure, you know, what orientation this went. It can kind of only go one of two ways, but being a top and a bottom, you know, left and right, I made me a little mark right on there. I also made a mark on there. The part number was facing up on the grinder, so maybe that'll help out a little bit. But yeah, I'm gonna put the part number up on the new part when I slide it in, so hopefully everything should be the same. So this is our new coil field. We got continuity there. And continuity there, which is good. And on our old coil, we don't have any continuity there. We do have it there. Maybe. If I can hold the wire. Yep, got continuity there. So this coil here is burned up. So we'll get to putting our new coil back in there. I've got my part number facing up. Got my little mark facing up. Gonna try and line my wires up the best I can. Kind of feed it through. Kind of get everything all put back in place where it's supposed to be. And when you're putting this back together, I don't know how well you can see it, but right there, you can tell there's a little groove. Down in there, there you can see right there, there's two little grooves that's got to line up in order for it to go in properly. And just feed the wires through, you know, go real slow. These things are kind of fragile. And just kind of pull them through. And we've got it pushed in as far as it'll go. We're going to put our little keepers back in there and then start reassembling. So I got the stator all back in. Got it all mounted back down with little keeper pins. Put my wires back in the little clips there. Figured I'd do that, just kind of keep it out of the way of moving parts. So I'm going to go ahead and slide the armature back in. We're going to wait on putting our brushes in, because if so, they'll be in the way of our armature. So that's why we're putting that in first. We'll kind of button up the head of it, get that all in there so we ain't got to worry about the armature falling out. And then we'll start putting the brushes back in, start wiring it back up. Now the armature in the head, it did go back in there pretty good last time. We'll see about how it goes this time. That was pressed in there. That's why it seemed different last time. So we'll just slide it in there. You know, make a mental note. This is your trigger side, your button. You know, obviously you don't want to put that in backwards. So we'll put it together. I want to say it was a little bit stubborn last time, which is acting like it wants to be stubborn this time. It got about there and didn't want to go much more. So I decided, against all common sense, to use my screws to pull it down, and to pull it down just fine. So we'll do that again. We got all 4 of our bolts in, and now we'll get ready to put the little grinder head in there, the gear assembly. Yeah, the screw fall out. I didn't want it to fall out. We'll put that towards the back. And it just kind of just pops right in there. Just like so. Just like that. Looks like our gasket lined up good. So we'll go to put our bolts back in there. Now we got the head of our grinder put all back on. Look back through my pictures and see where everything goes. Looks like this bottom wire comes up. Right through there is a little passage for it. You would think it connects there, but for some reason it doesn't. It crosses over to the other side and connects over there. Why they did that, couldn't tell you. That's how they roll, so that's how it's going back together. And this wire here, top wire, comes back over here, connects on this side. Like I said, once again, don't know why they did it like that, but that's what they did. Actually, it didn't do that. I forgot I'd changed out my little terminal block, my little heater block. Thermal protection, that's what it is. That's why it does it like that. But either way, this is how it's going back together. You know, we got that all wired up. We'll put our brushes back in. I don't believe it matters which side the brushes are on. I mean, obviously it matters the way the wire goes on. But should just be able to push that in there and then click it back down. Should be all good to go. Just want to kind of get it tucked in there and make sure all the wires are going to be out of the way of the casing. Just like so. Do the same thing on the other side. Probably wouldn't hurt to spray that off with some contact cleaner, which I do not have, so I'm not going to be doing that. Alright, and we'll throw our little housing on the body back on and should be able to test it. When putting it together, obviously make sure you put your trigger back in there. Put the side that had the little mount for the cord in there. That'll be easiest so we can secure that, because if you do it in the reverse option, you're going to be able to secure your cord down. So yeah, make sure you do that first. Put your pigtail back in there and clamp it down. Alright, got it all plugged up. Remember to put a little cord hanger in there. See if she works. That's what I'm talking about. So, now I have a working Metabo again. I do understand that this isn't just a Metabo. Metabo is the brand name. For some reason, every field I've ever worked in, I just call it just the grinder Metabo. It took me a few years to actually learn Metabo. Makes different stuff like saws and drills and all kinds of stuff like that. Never used any of those, don't know how good they are. I've used a ton of 6-inch grinders, a few 4-inch grinders too. Been pretty happy with them. The only thing I can say that I don't really like is the thermal overprotection feature. Obviously, it's put there for a reason, probably keep everything melting down like it did on this one. But yeah, it does suck. Like when you're just getting down with some work and you gotta, stop and let this thing cool off. It has a little light. I want to say it had the light on it somewhere. Yeah, I want to say that was a little LED light there. It would light up, tell you it's overheating. You have to just let it run. Forgot I had that plugged up. You just have to let it run on its own. Keep the fan going, get air moving through it. A little light would turn off. If you tried to keep working with it, it would just bog down. Kind of keep it from burning up itself, I guess. Good and bad feature. Longevity of the tool, good. Getting work done, not good because you're waiting on it. Once I took this out, it stopped doing that, which, hey, I'm cool with that. Didn't have to wait on it no more. Yeah, the part it was roughly $70 with shipping and all that. A new grinder is almost 300, I believe. 200 or 300. I want to say closer to 300. So yeah, I'll probably go out to the mailbox today and my new one will be here. But it's cool. I got another one working. I'm going to keep running this one, till it breaks again, or I have any other issues out of it. I'll at least have a backup. Yes, it's expensive backup. Also, not being able to work because you got a down grinder is expensive too. I did put a lot of 4-inch grinders. I save all my old Metabo blades wherever they're at. When I get down to like a smaller 4-inch size, if I need to cut through something wider, like a 2-inch piece of square tubing, I'll pop the old one off. I'll just set it aside, for a rainy day. And I'm glad I did, because while this was down, I just used my 4.5-inch DeWalt. It got me by. I did run into issues where I needed a bigger blade, and hence why I bought a new one. Because I didn't know when this part was going to be here. Like I said, it was coming from Germany. The new unit that I got from Amazon, it showed it was going to be here faster, but surprisingly enough, the part showed up before it. So hopefully that video helps you out. As I said, I didn't really see a whole lot online. These are kind of simple, really, once you get into it. A little bit more intimidating than what it is, but not too bad of a deal. So once again, hopefully it helps you out. Hit the like button. Definitely share it. That way anybody else that is in the metalworking field that needs to get a quick repair on these or just try and rebuild it themselves, totally possible. Metabo website, it's got a good breakdown on it. Unfortunately, you can't buy it from them directly, which would really, really make things easy. I don't know why they do. I guess they want to sell you new Metabo instead of parts. I don't know. But anyways, I got work to do, so I'm going to get back to it. Appreciate you watching. Hopefully it helped, and we'll see you on the next one.